I'm going to this music festival with my girlfriend. We've been kind of going through a rough patch, and I think this will be great for us. But there's one thing she decides to throw on me at the last second. She wants to bring a friend with her. Okay, no big deal, right? Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. This friend that she's talking about is the reason we're in a rough patch. It's not some girlfriend that she's been friends with for a while. It's a guy that she's met at yoga class, and I'll tell you right now, they are super close.
I'm 23 and male, and I surprised my girlfriend with tickets to a 3-day camping music festival for her birthday 3 months ago. We both love music, but she's more into these events than I am. However, there were a couple of headliners I was pretty stoked to see. I primarily planned this trip because we've been going through some rough patches as of lately. We've grown distant, and there were times I wanted to hang out, but she'd be occupied elsewhere. I hoped that this trip would be an opportunity for us to reconnect and spend some quality time together. To make it even more memorable, I invited a group of our mutual friends to camp with us at the festival. We were all pumped up about the trip and discussing the bands that we were excited to see and planning all the logistics. My girlfriend and I agreed to use my vehicle for car camping. We spent many evenings preparing for this event, buying camping gear, deciding on our outfits, curating our music playlist for the drive, and getting the vehicle in tip-top shape. Fast forward to 2 weeks before the festival. My girlfriend excitedly told me that she invited Dan to join us, and now here's the kicker. Dan is not part of our close friend group. He's someone that she met at a weekly yoga class. I've only met him once briefly, and that was during a casual bump-in at the coffee shop. My girlfriend and Dan have become quite close lately. They share a lot of interest and often spend time together, and I've sometimes felt sidelined in their budding friendship. I tried not to think much of it and be supportive, believing in trust we've built in our relationship, and I told myself that maybe she just wanted Dan to be a part of the group since they've been growing closer. But deep down, I felt uneasy. It's not that I did not trust my girlfriend, but I just did not expect a quote outsider in what was meant to be a close-knit group, get away. Especially not somebody that she's been spending so much time with recently. Things got a bit more complicated when Dan messaged me directly. He said he heard about the trip from my girlfriend and was super excited. He then went on about how he wanted to split the gas cost and how he hoped that it would be cool if he pitched his tent next to ours. I was taken back. My girlfriend had not discussed any of these details with me, and I told him I would need to talk to my girlfriend first. Confronting my girl about it, she seemed genuinely surprised that I was upset. She told me that she thought I'd be cool with it, and that Dan is just a friend. She said she wanted him to experience the festival because he's never been one to do that before. I told her my concerns. I wanted this weekend to be about us reconnecting, and I wasn't comfortable with how close they've become lately. I also felt blinded by her making decisions about our trip without discussing it with me, and she gets defensive, saying I was making a big deal out of a simple gesture of including her friend. Now I'm conflicted. I'm excited about the festival, but I'm dreading the potential awkwardness with Dan around. Let me know what you guys would do, and I will update you soon. Update number 1. Hey guys, thank you for the advice and feedback on my previous post. A quick recap. I organized a music festival trip primarily to reconnect with my girlfriend, and she invited Dan, a guy that she met at yoga, without discussing it with me first. Many of you said that I was right to feel a bit blindsided, and now I've got an update that I hope can shed a bit of more light on the situation. We all arrived at the festival a few days ago, and the energy was electric. Surrounded by a sea of tents and cars, we set up camp and began partying almost immediately. The drinks flowed, the music blared from distant stages, and our group got into the festival spirit. Determined to make the best of things, I decided to make an effort with Dan, getting to know him and integrating him into our friend group. Everything started off great. Our friends welcomed Dan, and it seemed like we were all getting along well. As the sun set, we headed to the stages, and I was particularly excited to see the Floozies, a band I've been a fan of for a long time, as We danced and lost ourselves in the music. I could not help but notice Dan's gaze, repeatedly drifting towards my girl. It wasn't just a casual glance, it felt more intense. There were moments when our eyes met, and instead of looking away guilty, he'd just gaze me and flash a little sly smile. I tried to brush it off, telling myself maybe I was overthinking or being overly possessive. However, things escalated when, during a particularly vibey set, Dan moved closer to my girlfriend and began dancing with her. It wasn't a friendly dance. There was a certain intimacy to it, and I could feel my blood boil. I went up to Dan and just tried to keep my composure and calmly told him, "Hey man, we ain't doing that." Giving him a gentle but firm push away, and I did not want to cause a scene, especially not in a place meant for fun and letting loose. And in front of our friends too. Part of me was blaming the drinks that we had earlier, thinking maybe there was his cloudment of judgment. I don't know. What hurt more, however, was seeing my girlfriend dancing back with him. She didn't even seem uncomfortable or taken by surprise. It felt like a betrayal. Even if it was just a dance, the rest of the night was a blur. Even as I danced and tried to immerse myself in the music, the thoughts that Dan might be into my girlfriend, and even worse, that she might be reciprocating those feelings gnawed at me. Back at camp, exhaustion hit our group hard. One by one, everybody crawled into their tents. As I lay beside my girlfriend, a million thoughts raced through my mind. Should I confront her? Should I talk to Dan sober? Or am I overreacting? Here we are, on a trip I organized to reconnect and rekindle our relationship, and I can't shake the feeling that I'm losing her. I hope the next 2 days bring clarity, but for now, the uncertainty is killing me. Update number 2. First of all, thanks to everybody who's been following this absolute roller coaster of emotions I've been on during this festival. Your advice, insights, and everything seem to be invaluable. To continue where we left off. The morning after the first day, I woke up in our tent feeling slightly disoriented. The festival noise from the night before, the dancing, Dan's antics, it all felt like a fever dream. Rubbing my eyes, I realized that my girlfriend was not beside me. Emerging from the tent, I found my group lounging, nursing a hangover and exchanging tales from last night. My immediate question was about my girlfriend's whereabouts, to which they responded that she left with Dan to grab some breakfast and use the restrooms. I could feel a knot in my stomach. It wasn't just about the food or the restroom, it was the principle of the matter. The whole purpose of this trip was for us to bond and reconnect, but instead it felt like I was being sidelined in my own story. Well, my friends, seeing my frustration, tried to alleviate the situation. Some began pouring drinks and starting the party a bit early, attempting to distract me and hoping to get my mind off it. After what felt like hours, but was probably just 1 hour, my girlfriend returned holding a plate of food she got for me. I was touched by the gesture, but could not shake off my irritation. Throughout the day, she sensed my mood and kept pressing me about what's bothering me. Wanting to salvage whatever was left of the weekend, I brushed her concerns aside and repeated, "It's nothing." As dusk set in, we made our way to the stages. Lost in the music and crowds, there was a brief moment when I felt worries melting away. However, when nature called, my buddy and I headed to the restrooms. Upon returning, my friends informed me that Dan and my girlfriend had also left for the restrooms. Well, that was the last straw for me. The whole day I felt sidelined, and now this. I tried calling her, but her phone went straight to voicemail, and my anger grew as I tried and failed to spot them in the crowd. Hours passed, and they did not return. Back at the camp, tension was palpable as our group whispered and speculated about their absences. When they finally showed up, I pulled my girlfriend aside to have a heart-to-heart. I wanted answers, and I wanted them now. She kept assuring me Dan was just a friend, but as we spoke, I noticed a subtle redness around her lips and a hickey under her ears. Something I definitely had not done. I stared at her, feeling a bit of anger, sadness, and betrayal. I chose not to push the matter further that night, merely nodding as if I believed her. Early the next morning, while everybody was asleep, I packed what I could into my car, with my now ex-girlfriend still sleeping. I then grabbed my pocket knife out of my bag and I slashed Dan's tires and quickly left. A few minutes later, not even out of the festival grounds, I received a frantic call from my girlfriend, letting out all pent-up emotions on me. I told her everything, how sidelined I felt, how betrayed I felt seeing her with Dan, and how the marks on her were the final nail in the coffin. She tried to defend herself, but my mind was made up. I drove back home, leaving behind the festival and the memories, and the relationship that once meant the world to me. Update number 3. Well, guys, it's been a heck of a ride. A lot's happened in the last few weeks since I abruptly left the festival and the last update to you guys. To everyone who's been following the saga, I can't thank you enough for your words of wisdom, comfort, and at times brutal honesty. Here's the final chapter of this dramatic episode of my life. First things first. I broke up with my girlfriend. After the chaos of that weekend, I needed a bit of clarity, some distance, and most importantly, respect for myself. No relationship is worth the headache and mistrust that I felt. From what I've heard from my friends, she was absolutely shattered when she found that I've left her stranded at the festival. I never intended for that, but sometimes in life we make impulsive decisions, and I hope if anything it's a wake-up call to her. Now about Dan. With his car tires being slashed, it left him stranded too, and I could not feel any better about it. My buddy said that he was stuck there when they left and he was already talking to a tow service about getting his car out of there. My ex ended up hitching a ride with one of my buddies. It must have been excruciating towards her awkwardness, knowing that everybody was aware of her decisions. But she made her bed and now she must go to sleep. A few days after the festival, she reached out, with a bit of sadness and desperation in her voice. She confessed everything. About the dancing, the kissing, the whole 9 yards, and she just kept repeating that it was a mistake, that there's no real feelings between her and Dan. Honestly, it felt like I was listening to a broken record. Even if it was just dancing and kissing, the breach of trust was done. I mean, come on. Inviting the very guy I was uncomfortable with to a festival meant for us to reconnect? The audacity. Every day since, I've been getting calls and text messages from her, trying to explain, apologize, and mend things. I've gone no contact, not because I hate her, but because it's the healthiest choice for me right now. Trust, once broken, is almost impossible to mend. Moreover, I can't keep just thinking about what ifs and what could have been. Sometimes you need to turn the page, not because you want to, but because you have to. To everyone who's been a part of this journey with me, thank you. Life throws curveballs, but the real test is how we swing at them. As for me, I'm focusing on healing and moving forward, so I ask you guys this final question. Am I the a-hole for leaving my ex-girlfriend at the festival stranded? Only time will tell. Stay safe and cherish the genuine relationships that you have. Comments from the original post and updates. Comment number 1. Man, your ex-girlfriend really played herself on this one. Bringing a dude she's probably already messing around with to a music festival with her actual boyfriend, that's some next-level audacity right there. I'm living for the fact that she had to take the ride of shame back. Karma. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Comment number 2. Everybody sucks here. Look, I get it, your girlfriend was clearly in the wrong for how she acted, especially given the setting, but dude, slashing Dan's tires, that's low, even for this messy situation. You could have just walked away from the festival and dealt with it later. Now you're potentially on the hook for property damage. Retaliation like this never ends well. Comment number 3. OP, your ex pulling a stunt like that at the festival meant to reconnect? That's cold. You definitely deserve somebody who respects you and your relationship more than that. I don't think you're the a-hole here, though. You were put into a really tough spot, and I can say I'd handle it any different, I don't know. But anyways, I don't know. Good luck. Comment number 4. You're the a-hole. You can't just leave people stranded at a festival. Issues like this should have been dealt with in a mature way. When your girlfriend tried talking to you at the camp, you should have expressed your feelings. Ghosting her and causing damage, total overreaction. Communication is key, and this was a missed opportunity to talk things out like an adult.
Okay, so I agree the most with the first comment. I'll read it again. Ha, man, your ex-girlfriend really played herself on this one. Bringing a dude she's probably already messing around with to a music festival with her actual boyfriend, that's some next-level audacity. I'm living for the fact that she had to take the ride of shame back. Karma served her well, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I think that pretty much nails it. What was she thinking? Bringing somebody, but not only someone, the dude that was in question of the cheating the whole time, to a music festival with her boyfriend. I mean, what kind of red flag was that? I don't agree with the comment that says everybody sucks here. Yeah, OP probably went a little too far with slicing the tires of the dude's car, but hey, who knows how we would react under a situation like this. Guys, I do have 2 stories for you today. The next story we're going to hop into is titled, Am I the A-hole? For seeking revenge on a homeless man by absolutely shaming him. Yeah, might sound like the OP's the a-hole right off the rip, but this story gets pretty deep. Let's jump into today's story number 2. Right now.
Hello everyone, so I'm 19 and I started this job at a fast food restaurant a few months ago, working as a cashier. For context, it's my first ever job, and honestly the work itself isn't that bad, but oh boy, the customers. I live in an area where, let's just say, we don't get the best of the community. We deal with a lot of homeless, and we get customers that have made it their life's mission to be complete nightmares to anybody in the service industry. The restaurant is a halfway decent one, and I like my coworkers. They've told me wild tales of the regulars and warned me about the ones who have tried to scam the place before. But hearing about it and experiencing it firsthand are 2 very different things. One of the most irksome things I've observed is the water cup scam. And yes, I'm terming scam because it feels exactly like that. Here's how it works. Customers walk in, order their food, then casually ask for the free water cup. Sounds innocent enough, right? But then I'd watch in veiled disbelief as the same customers brazenly fill the cups with soda pop, or tea from the dispenser, not even attempting to be subtle about it. It's as if they're saying, yeah, I'm stealing. What are you gonna do about it? I brought it up to my manager, a worn-down woman in her 40s who clearly seen the worst of humanity through this job. She just shrugged, her gaze distant, and said, "It's not worth the drama, just let it be." Well, I get where she's coming from, avoiding confrontations, especially over something as trivial as soda pop. But every time it happens, there's this nagging feeling in the back of my mind, like a prickly thorn that won't budge. Well, but the water cup thing, just the tip of the iceberg. Some of the customers, I swear, seem to have crawled straight out of the 9th circle of Dante's Inferno, just to order a burger at our establishment. They come in, not a smile or a kind word in sight, just an air of entitlement and a sneer that could curdle milk. Ordering food from me as if I'm some sort of subservient worm. And don't even get me started on the ones who decide to verbally berate me over the slightest of things. The fries being a tad bit too salty, the burger not being exactly at the temperature they desire, and if they have to wait more than 5 minutes, hoo boy! You'd think I'd personally have committed an affront against their entire lineage. One particular memorable event was when this middle-aged dude, sporting a beer belly, slamming his tray on the counter, and his face was the shade of an overripe tomato, and his eyes were shooting daggers as he bellowed, "I said no cheese on this," pointing aggressively at the burger in front of him. I apologized profusely, and even though I remembered him mumbling his order like he had a mouthful of marbles, but apologies didn't matter. He wanted a show, an audience to his majestic meltdown. My coworkers have been supportive, giving me tales of their own confrontations to make me feel better, and they say it's all a part of the initiation, that in time I will develop thick skin required to deal with this kind of patrons. But I can't shake off the feeling of helplessness and anger. What would you guys do if you were in my position? I'll update you soon as a few weeks go by. Update number 1. Hey guys, it's been a few wild weeks. Remember those horrible customers I kept telling you about and just basically ranting? Well, they're still here. But a new incident took place which makes all their annoyance seem trivial. 2 nights ago during my shift, a local homeless man named Randall started spending an unusually long amount of time in the restaurant. Randall was not new to us. He'd occasionally pop in for some warmth to use the restroom, and sometimes people would buy him a meal, but this time was different. He'd been there for hours, huddled over a table scattered with his dirty possessions, refilling an old grimy cup at our drink fountain over and over. He kept wandering in and out of the restrooms too. I felt torn. On one hand, I felt empathy because the night was chilling, and maybe he just wanted a warm place to be. On the other hand, our store had policies, and he was clearly overstaying his welcome. I decided to let him be until we closed. Now, here's where the major incident happened. I usually place my belongings, including my phone, at a table near the restroom when I start cleaning up. As I was sweeping the floors, I informed Randall that we'd be closing up soon and he'd need to leave. He seemed a bit disgruntled, but asked if he could use the restroom one last time, so I agreed and continued with my task. Minute later, Randall was gone, and so was my phone from the table. Obviously, my heart starts to race at this point. I frantically search around, everywhere I could think of, and, well, even though deep down I had that sinking feeling, so I rushed to the manager's office and asked to review the security footage, and there it was, clear as day. Randall leaving the restroom and swiftly pocketing my phone before making a hurried exit. Anger clouded my vision, and my manager mentioned that she knew where Randall usually hung out. She suggested we take a drive to retrieve my phone before involving the police. The restaurant near closing anyways, so together we set off. Not far from the local grocery store, we found Randall. My manager called my phone, and my distinctive ringtone, a nostalgic tune from my favorite childhood video game, RuneScape, echoed loudly from his pocket. The sight of my phone in his possession stirred a torrent of emotions within me, anger being the number one. The audacity he had. He began to plead, begging us not to involve the police, and tears streamed down his dirty face. The weight of his accusations and the fear of the consequences evident. I wanted justice, though. I wanted to make him pay for the anxiety and violation he caused me. My manager, however, held a different view. She gently coaxed me to let it go, saying sometimes life lessons are punishment enough. So we left with my phone, but without involving police. Driving home late that night, I had a thought that consumed me. Why was I the one feeling punished? He took something of mine, invaded my personal space, and walked away without hardly a reprimandation? Yeah, I get it, he's homeless, and yeah, life has not been kind to him, obviously, but does that excuse him from the basic principles of wrongs and right? The entire ordeal just does not sit right with me, and I'm left with this overwhelming feeling of injustice. So, before I update you again, I'll ask you, what would you have done? Update number 2. Me again. Just when I thought things could not get more complicated, they did. After the entire phone retrieval saga, you would think my ordeal with Randall would end, right? Wrong. The next day, as I was checking my phone, I saw a notification from social media platform that I don't use. Confused, I opened it to find myself logged into Randall's account. Heart racing, I scrolled through and to my horror, found that he had sent my personal photos from my gallery to several people on his friends list. My stomach churned. How much had he seen? How many photos did he send? I felt so violated. My phone was not just a device, it was a private space, a reflection of my life, my memories, my secrets. The notion of Randall, this stranger, thumbing through my personal memories made my skin crawl. At my next shift, I shared my discovery with my manager, and the color drained from her face, likely second-guessing her decision from that night. "We should have involved the police," she whispered. I quickly reassured her, saying it wasn't her fault, but a fire had ignited in me already, and I needed a bit of justice. True, Randall was banned from the restaurant, but that felt minuscule compared to the magnitude of his violation. Then a thought struck me. He was logged into his account on my phone, and he probably did not have a device to access his social media, especially now without my phone, so a plan formed. I pinned a post on his account detailing the theft of my phone and his subsequent invasion of my privacy, and each day, to ensure maximum visibility, I reposted the same message over and over. I wanted his entire circle to know the kind of person Randall was. And the reaction was, well, very swift. Comments began pouring in, many condemning Randall for his action, and people were actually shocked. Some claimed that they knew that he was troubled but did not know he would go this far. Every time I reposted, the number of reactions grew, and with them, my feeling of vindication. Each angry emoji, each shocked comment, they felt like pieces of justice, yet I've not seen Randall since the night of the theft. Part of me's relieved, another part's curious about his reaction. Does he even know? Does he even care? What I felt measures a satisfaction from the public's reaction, but there's a tiny voice inside me wondering if it was the right thing to do, how to handle it. After all, he's now probably feeling some repercussions socially. On top of everything else he endures, but another voice retaliates, arguing he invaded my privacy, made my intimate moments public, so why shouldn't his crimes be made? As the days go by and the reactions keep pouring in, I grapple with these conflicting feelings. I've received a semblance of justice, but at what cost? Update number 3. Hey guys, final update. Life has a funny way of turning the tables when you least expect it. The Randall saga, which I believed had been neatly tied up, came back to haunt me in the most unexpected way. Last week, having wrapped up another grueling shift, I was driving home only to be interrupted by my car's fuel warning light. Rolling into the nearest gas station, I started the usual drill, trying to quickly fill up and be on my way, but fate had other plans. From the dim edges of the gas station, a figure approached me. It was a man, and as he neared, the sinking realization hit me. It was Randall. Panic flooded my system, and all those comments, all those warnings of here I was, cornered at a gas station in the dead of night. But before I could react, Randall waved his hand as if signaling peace. Oh, just hear me out. Just hear me out. His voice held a hint of desperation. I hesitated, then slightly cracked my car window, and he took a deep breath. I just want to apologize, man. I know about the post. I know about what you said, and honestly, I deserved it. I did. I'm ashamed of that night and how I invaded your privacy. Against all my instincts, I found myself listening. Your decision not to call the cops that night, it was a wake-up call, man. I promise I haven't touched a drink since. I saw sincerity in his eyes, a vulnerability that made me realize, despite his previous actions, Randall was still a human being, capable of being remorseful. You've been a bigger person than I deserved. I just hope someday I can make it up to you. I lowered my window fully, and at that moment of contemplation, I reached into my pocket and handed him a $20 bill. The weight of guilt for his current situation, and possibly exasperated by my actions, was weighing heavy on my conscience. As I drove away, I had some emotions consume me. The earlier anger and need for revenge had been replaced with a gnawing guilt. Had I gone too far in my quest for so-called justice? Perhaps public shaming, especially if somebody already going through so much, and being down on their luck, was the wrong way to do it. It wasn't like Randall had faced no consequences. He lost his dignity, his self-worth, and possibly even more opportunities for help due to my post. Well, the city lights blurred as my thoughts raced, and maybe, just maybe, I've been too harsh. I felt like the roles had reversed, and I could not help but wonder if the post had been more about my own need for validation and less about a true justice. So, yeah, I had the internet cheering me on. Real life painted a much grayer picture. Now, I sit here, typing out this update to you guys, and asking myself if I've become the very thing I despised. Have I become the a-hole of the story? Let me know your thoughts and what you would do. This is my final update. Comment number 1 from the original post. Everyone sucks here. I get the frustration and the need for a bit of revenge, especially with something as personal as a phone being stolen. That said, OP, it might have been just let it go after getting your phone back. Public humiliation can have dire consequences, and while Randall was wrong for stealing, you went a step too far. Still, none of this would have happened if he had not taken the phone. He did the right thing by apologizing, but in the grand scheme of things, everyone is in the wrong here. Comment number 2. Honestly, I'm shocked OP did not get the cops involved as soon as they found him with the phone. If it were me, I would have had him locked up on the spot. Especially after finding out about the photos. We can't be soft on criminals. Otherwise, they'll keep doing the same thing. Don't feel bad, OP. He brought it on himself. Comment number 3. I can't even imagine how scared OP must have felt at the gas station, all alone and suddenly coming face to face with Randall. I'd frozen in place. Kudos to OP for being brave enough to hear him out. Petty justice? Yeah, maybe, but it was legal, and honestly, I can't blame OP. Randall is the a-hole for stealing the phone and causing all this in the first place.
Alright, so my opinion on this one is a little different from the comments. I don't really agree that everyone sucks here. I think Randall sucks. I don't really think that OP went too far exposing Randall, and here's why. I think it would be a little different if Randall, aka the homeless person in today's story, if he just stole the phone and tried to say, for instance, sell it or use it, but the fact that Randall went through the phone sharing OP's pictures with all these random people that OP doesn't know, I think that was a huge breach of privacy, and after that, I didn't care what happened to Randall. So guys, let me know your thoughts about that. Say for instance you were in OP's position, would you have gone as far as OP did, or would you have gone further? Drop your comments down below. My name's Mr. Reddito, and this is Mr. Reddito's Revenge channel, where every story has a little bit of karma or revenge. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want more daily revenge stories, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya.